special editions of The Mystery Train, and tonight's programme was recorded last Easter at HQ in the Irish Music Hall of Fame in Dublin. John Kelly's guest tonight is Sinead O'Connor.
Good evening, everybody. And thanks very much for coming out in such large numbers. I know you're not here to see me, but we've done a bunch of these Mystery Train lives. This is the fourth one, I think. Paul Brady, Lonnie Donegan, Ron Sexsmith, and this one tonight. We're very thrilled about this one because it was during the first one with Paul that Sinead expressed an interest in doing it. And of course, we're delighted and thrilled that she's going to do it tonight. And would you please welcome, with Ray Harman, Sinead O'Connor.
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. Howdy doody. So seeing as it's Easter, we're going to start with this one. Kyrie.
We were both very nervous, but we're not nervous now.
No, I'm terrified.
Well, it started now. It's going to be a soothing gig, you were saying?
Yeah.
Right, that's fine. Let's keep it soothing. Sinead, we want to talk about music here. This is what this thing's about, so Do you remember the first music that you liked? No, this is as a little girl now. This is not teenage buying records. This is as a kid.
Right. The Beatles I loved. My parents were both into the Beatles, and my mother was big into John Lennon, so I kind of grew up from that age with a lot of Beatles and John Lennon. I loved them, and Johnny Cash I loved, and even Jimmy Osmond I thought was great. The Bay City Rollers, they were a big one.
Yeah.
You'd break up with people if they didn't like the Bay City Rollers. Like.
Did you wear the gear?
Oh yeah,
the rollers
had the
gear?
lunch bag, everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Who was your favourite roller?
Eric. Eric Faulkner.
Yeah. Did you ever see him?
Hero. No.
Yeah, wow.
So,
it's an experience you've missed.
But Bob Dylan was the big one when I was about 11. My brother brought home Slow Train Coming, which was the mind blower. That really rocked my world.
At 11? Because at 11 I wouldn't have got Dylan at all. I wouldn't have thought.
Well, luckily I had a brother who was 3 years older than me. He had a girlfriend called Sarah, so he was big into Bob. So.
When you were a kid, you know, did songs make sense to you as songs, or were they just things that you kind of tapped your foot to? I mean, did you actually get into them and listen to them?
Yeah, no, I mean, they were the people that my parents were listening to were people who you had to really listen to. My father and my mother were both singers and very into songs, rather than just, like, they would be the kind of people who'd be listening, you know. So it would be stuff that would really, you know, ear cookies, as my friend Skip calls them.
It must have been quite odd, though. I mean, were there many kids your age who were hearing good music like that? I mean, apart from, I mean, you're obviously into the Rollers and all that stuff that your friends were into, but, you know, Johnny Cash as well.
Yeah. What are you saying?
Was that quite odd, quite rare?
I don't really know, to be honest. You know, the way you only know, you think whatever goes on in your house is normal, so I don't really know. I mean, I think probably pretty obviously there were, I mean, look at, you know, Van Morrison grew up listening to...
Well, he's pretty rare.
I mean, where did that happen, you know?
Yeah. So, do you remember the first song you sang?
Oh, God, it was probably something like The Bells of the Angelus, or something like that. I mean, I couldn't tell you really, but it would have been something religious, I guess, at school.
And did you have a party piece?
I did. I used to do a song which I can't remember called Magalina Hagalina Ukatoka Wakatoka Okanoka was her name.
It's a real shame you can't remember that, because that I would love to hear.
Me and my stepsister used to do that. It was all about a girl whose teeth pointed that way and her feet pointed that way. And she wasn't very attractive. But she grew into a sex pot.
Well, that's what happens.
Sounds all right.
At what stage, Sinead, did you think music was something that maybe you could do something with yourself, however? You know, just that you started maybe singing songs in a more serious way?
I think right from the time I was maybe around 7, when I made my communion and began to sing in choirs and things like that, particularly the religious stuff, that really had a calling kind of for me. So I think around then really that I knew I could, I guess, for want of a better word, that's how I could pray, or that's how I could worship, if you like, through singing. You know.
Did you like the old-fashioned hymns, or did you like the new kind of folky, clap-happy ones?
No, I hated the charismatic-y stuff. Oh, some of the songs were great, but I felt the songs got lost in a lot of the noise, you know. But I loved choirs, that's what I liked, the harmonies, singing harmonies, and then you wouldn't listen to yourself so much. Singers don't really like to hear themselves, you know. Yeah. So if you can sing in a group of people where you're listening to everyone else, that's quite beautiful, you know. And obviously the feeling of singing in a choir is, you know, unbelievable.
And did you sing solo at school as well?
No, I would have been so shy, no way. So I can just about pull it off now.
The shyness thing is extraordinary. I mean, we were talking about this backstage as well. There are so many people who do what you do who are very shy.
Yeah.
So how do you think you ended up doing something like this? Because it seems like the last place you ought to put yourself if you're shy.
I think it's, obviously there's a lot to it, but partly I think it's the desire to defeat the shyness, do you know what I mean? Not to let it win, but almost to put yourself in this situation. And I think it's a bit of a game you play with yourself sometimes, or a test of yourself to say, well, can I be myself in this situation, which I find so terrifying? Can I still stay rooted to my own?
I'll get you to sing a song in a moment, but when you started to take music more seriously like that, what did you think the potential of it was, or was it simply just entertainment for yourself? Did you see anything in it that was going to change things for you?
I think a lot of things. when you're a singer, you need to sing or you go mad. It's just the way you are. And you feel the nature of what you are is that you feel things very intensely, so that you physically have to sing, or else you get very depressed. So really, that's a lot of the drive. When you're a teenager, it's also the action. You know what I mean? You want the guys, or you want everyone to look at you and all that stuff. Then that becomes the thing you don't want. People looking at you and all that stuff.
You're much happier singing, I know. So let's get Harmon back out here.
Okay, I'm going to do. I thought it's quite interesting sometimes for people to hear songs the way they are when they're written, rather than the way they end up on your record or whatever. So, but they're not how you would hear them on the record as such, but more how they are when they're being written. So.
Where I can go and Spirit guides me. There I can ask, any question. I get the answers if I listen. I have a healing room inside me. The loving healers, there they feed me. They make me happy with their laughter. They kiss and tell me I'm their daughter. I'm their daughter. They say you have a little voice inside you. And it doesn't matter who you think you may be. You're not afraid if you don't know me. If you don't know me. See, I'm not the lie that lives outside you. And it doesn't matter what you think you believe. You're not afraid if you don't know me, yeah. If you don't know me, yeah. See, I am the universe inside you. You come to me and I will guide you and make joy in singing. You're my daughter. You're my daughter. So believe you're not afraid if you don't know me. Yeah. If you don't know me. Yeah. If you don't know me. If you don't know me. If you don't know me.
Thank you. Thanks.
That was great. Let's talk about singing then, Sinead. You were saying that a young person gets into music and starts writing music and performing music for a number of reasons. Well, picking up boys and girls and whatever, that's a given.
That's the number one reason.
We've all tried that. There's also what you mentioned about, more importantly, that people have things to say to other people, but you also said to themselves.
Yeah.
And you also said it's a way of praying.
Yeah.
Now, at the time, you probably didn't know that, did you?
I think I did, actually. I was always very conscious of that. I think I was conscious of that before I was actually conscious of anything else.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the praying part of it?
Well, when I was very young, I used to walk along and I used to be making up songs with my steps, that I'd always hear songs, but I always felt, and still do, that songs write themselves. They happen inside you. If you conduct a relationship with what's going on inside you, you can hear them. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's something I think that comes through your spirit and from what is a universal spirit and source. Do you know what I mean? That songs are in the air, already written, if you listen out for them, kind of, So
to have believed that about music, even at an early age, must have influenced how you then approached music, because you couldn't just go into it, let's just get up and mess around here. I mean, it was a serious thing to you quite early.
Well, yeah, plus I had quite a lot on my chest I wanted to get off as well anyway, so, so it wasn't that difficult, to be honest.
But it was more than just a therapy thing. A lot of teenagers write poems and they write, and often it can be garbage. It's just like screeds of stuff.
Yeah.
But to approach it seriously is a different thing.
I guess I never really sat down and tried to write a song as such. But sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you have to write a song. Do you know what I mean? So that's the way they come. And I don't really actually think about it too much. Do you know what I mean? I sort of take it for granted almost. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not sure entirely what the question is.
Neither am I.
So, okay. That's okay then.
So, I want to ask you then, when the first record came out, the first time I saw you perform was an Old Grey Whistle Test in Belfast. You two were playing and you were on first.
Yeah.
And I think everybody was kind of knocked over, by the force of what you're doing. I mean, it was ferocious. I mean, I've never seen it,
I was pretty pissed off.
Can you remember what that period was like? The first time you really got up there with a big audience, and people were starting to pay attention to Sinead O'Connor at this point, and you had them at your mercy, and you had the microphone.
Well, I was very locked into my own world at that time, so I was almost not really aware of that stuff. I was so young as well, like I was 20 when that was happening, and I didn't really know where I was. I'd moved from Ireland kind of 2 years previously. Here I was on MTV, or here I was on something else, and I really was in my own world entirely. So there was an anger in what I was doing, which a rage, if you like, which was very true for me at that time. And I think I was actually, that's what a lot of the music was also about, you know what I mean? And there is a place for music to express that kind of stuff as much as anything else. But I think I was probably so raging at that time that I wasn't aware of what I was doing as such in terms of, how other people would have seen me, do you see what I mean? So, or the volume of it, or...
Shortly after that, though, it went through the roof for you. I mean, it wasn't, everything happened very, very, very fast from that point on. Yeah. You say you were young, but you were no mug. You were a very bright, very, very bright person, and
Well, I was 20, like as
Yeah.
bright as you can be when you're 20. You think you know everything, and actually...
Well, the too much too soon thing is always said about artists, you know.
Yeah.
And an awful lot happened to you in a very short space of time.
Yeah, definitely.
And is that something now that you wish it had happened some other way, or?
No, I don't. I mean, I know it sounds cliched and all, but I actually, there are things that maybe, okay, I wish I had been more emotionally mature, I wish I'd this, I wish blah, 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 but I was only whatever age I was, and I can't kind of spend too much time worrying about that, but learn from what I learned. I feel as if I've had 13 years training in the music business, do you know what I mean? And having gone through all that, and to a certain extent growing up in the public eye and everything, you know what I mean? You learn your lessons, but you got to be yourself is the thing, do you know what I mean? So I don't, I guess I would like to have appreciated maybe more that actually I had a right for all of this stuff to be happening. I felt as if I think lots of people say this as if they were kind of an imposter, you know, didn't really deserve awards or didn't deserve this stuff, do you know what I mean, and almost wanted to get rid of it, you know, so that kind of thing, you'd just be so embarrassed by the whole thing, you know, so...
The one thing that's come right through everything you've said from you were a kid is that the music is informed all the time by God or the Spirit or whatever. If that wasn't there, would there be any music within you at all, do you think?
Ah, yeah, I mean, you know, because I like the "You Baby Baby" stuff as well, so if that wasn't there. I mean, the thing I like, actually, and the artists I like are people who I feel mixed sexuality and religion or spirituality, growing up in a country which very much repressed sexuality, you know, where the religious music would be really unsexy and the sexy music would be really unspiritual, you know. So that's what's great about Bob Dylan or Bob Marley or people like that they brought that together. But yeah, no, of course you can have music without spirituality, but I don't think actually, in a way, you can, yes, but also it's an oxymoron, because music it's something that bubbles out of people's spirit, you know, that is the first form of communication, the voice is why every other musical instrument exists, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, before we could speak language, we were making noises with our voices, you know. It's amazing to me that in your womb, your child has a voice, you know, waiting to... That's incredible. The first thing a human being does is go, you know. So, my daughter's a singer, I'm sure, because when she came home after a few days after she was born, she'd go, la, la, la. When she was crying, she'd cry, la.
Well, that's presumably because she, you know, when she was in the womb, she heard you sing. I mean, this is going very far back, but I remember you saying around the time of the first record, the way you got the kid to sleep was to play the record.
Yeah. That's because he was so fed bloody up with it.
One of the problems, we've touched on this with the celebrity side in general, but you must know that people like come to an event like this, and you know 99% of them are here to hear you sing, and there's always going to be a couple, you know, who turn up for not the reason that you want them here. You know, you want people to hear you sing. You're a singer.
It doesn't affect your performance on stage at all. You don't really be thinking about that, and I mean what you're saying is true, and how I've come to terms with that over the years is by understanding that if by doing that these people can make a living, well, that's okay with me. If my doing what I'm doing assists anybody else to make a living, that's okay with me, therefore that's a form of compassion as well. And the other thing is, one day this guy walked by me and he went, "You're dirt," you know. And I remember turning around and going, "It takes dirt to know dirt," and all, and he totally kept his dignity, and I lost mine, you know, going, "It takes dirt to know dirt." But then it just struck me afterwards, like that guy needed to get up and call someone dirt that day. Do you know what I mean? So if I say I want to help humanity, I can't just expect, you know, the good stuff. If somebody needs to dump some shit on someone, well, that's all right, they can dump it on me as well. Do you know what I mean? If that's, you know, and that's how I kind of deal with it. I see it all serves a purpose, which at the end of the day is a release, and even if they go off and they write whatever they do, they've heard even one note which opened them up or said something to them, even, and they don't have to admit that outwardly. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, they aren't only here for that reason, although they may think they are. Do you know what I mean? Right. That actually isn't. Generally, you find at the end of the day, those people are quite intrigued with what you do artistically because they see themselves in it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so sing us another song, Sinead.
Cool. There's a movie coming out in June about Veronica Guerin, and And this song, there is no soundtrack to the record, and it's not actually on my own record, although it was supposed to be, but didn't actually make it. So you won't really get a chance to hear it, so I thought it'd be nice to do it tonight. So it's a lovely song by a woman named Lorena McKennitt, and it's called Full Circle.
Stars were falling deep in the darkness as prayers rose softly, petals at dawn. And as I listened, your voice seemed so clear, so calmly. You were calling your God. Somewhere a sun rose or dunes in the desert. Such was the stillness I never felt before. Was this the question? Pulling, pulling, pulling you in your heart, in your soul. Did you find peace there? Elsewhere a snow fell, the first in the winter, covered the ground as the bells filled the air. You in your robe sang, calling, calling, calling him. In your heart, in your soul, did you find peace there? In your heart, in your soul, did you find peace there?
Okie dokie. Thanks. Okay. Okay.
On Ragland Road on an autumn day, I saw her first and knew that her dark hair would weave a snare that I might one day rue. I saw the danger, yet I walked along the enchanted way, and I said, let grave be a fallen leaf dawning of the day. On Grafton Street in November, we tripped lightly along the ledge of a deep ravine where can be seen the worth of passion's pledge. The Queen of Hearts still making tarts, and I not making hay. Oh, I loved too much by such is happiness blown away. I gave her gifts of the mind, I gave her the secret sign that's known to the artists who have known the true gods of sound and stone. And word and tint I did not stint, for I gave her poems to say with her own name there, and her dark hair like clouds over fields of May. On a quiet street where all ghosts meet, I see her walking now, away from me so hurriedly. My reason must a creature made of clay. When the angel was a clay, he lose his wings at the dawn of day.
That's an extraordinary song, Ragland Road, isn't it? I'm never quite, I mean, I love it, I've loved it for years, but I'm never quite sure what it's about, you know, something.
Yeah, but that's what's good about songs too, because it kind of spoils it if you know what they're about, because what's powerful about them is that people imagine they're about them. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I really wouldn't like to know what most of Bob Dylan's songs mean, do you know?
Right.
It'd spoil it.
Let me ask you about this, Sinead. When you get a public persona, a public platform as such, which you get when you're a singer and you're on a stage, is that something that you have to take very carefully and take very seriously? Because, you know, people get up and they've got a captive audience and they can say what they like. Do you keep in mind that you have the potential to do a lot of good works, to use the old-fashioned term for that?
I think your best work is done in private, obviously. Anything good that you may do. So to a certain extent, yeah, I think we have a certain responsibility to do what we can, but I think it belongs not necessarily in your gig except through your music, that there are other places that you would do it, you know what I mean? But I think you more have a duty to be yourself, basically, and if you feel strongly about something, then you will use whatever platform you have to try to create some change, or try to at least be a mirror wherein people can see themselves, so that people know they're not alone.
But in terms of things like causes, I mean, Dylan, who's been a kind of a touchstone throughout this,
Yeah.
Dylan never aligned himself with anything. He always stayed apart, you know?
Well, I don't know if that's true. I mean, he wrote The Hurricane, for example. He aligned himself with that whole thing, you know. And in fact, he was very politicised and would be one of the major kind of influences on people like me, people like him and John Lennon, who did like outrageous fucking things, but felt that they could change something, which they could, which was their own world, basically. And they're like, we don't have the power to change other people's worlds, but we have the power to affect our own world. So I think it's important to do that. But I think also when you're young, you kind of think that everything you do is massively important and everything you say is massively important. And then after a while of doing all of that, you realise how completely unimportant it is. So you think more of doing things privately in your life. So.
And where do things now cross over and meet between the music and the other side of your life as a priest? Where do they come together? Because there's obviously there's a crossover point there.
Well, I think as a singer I've always been a priest, and my singing to a certain extent has been my priesthood and is and will continue to be my priesthood. I don't really want to get into the priesthood too much, though, because I didn't do it for publicity, and if I talk about it, that fuels suggestions that I did. So, you know, again, it's something that's very private, kind of, you know. So, but you can't separate the dancer from the dance, as your man said. You know, there isn't a point. Basically, it's all the same person and it's all the same thing. And so, between being a mother or being a priest or being a singer or just being a human being, kind of, or a fan.
What's going to happen now? Because, what about that? What about being a fan? How important is it to be a fan? Because we were talking about this about other musicians backstage there, and it's great to meet a musician who's a fan, who loves music. Yeah. And, you know, you don't meet them that often, actually.
I don't know, maybe you're hanging around with the wrong...
I'm hanging around with the wrong people, I know. I know. But there are some, and it's always a delight, you know, to meet a musician who's actually into music, and all that stuff is stripped away, and suddenly they say, no, you've got to listen to that CD and listen to that one.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's a question of what you ask people to and what you use to unlock them, do you know what I mean? Generally, if you're not having that experience, it's probably that you're not asking them who are they influenced by or who are they into, or, you know, so, because generally that's all people want to talk about is Bob. Whether it's Bob Marley or Bob Dylan or whatever.
Who are you into just at the moment? You know, like, do you pay much attention to what's happening now?
Yeah, I mean, I like the record which is #1 in England at the moment, the R&B record, Fill Me In.
Beats me.
I like a lot R&B stuff, a lot of that kind of modern R&B stuff. I love Macy Gray. I think it's the best thing that's happened for years. Yeah. But strictly roots, I guess I listen to a lot of old records as well. I don't like a lot of the kind of white pop stuff, but any of that sexy R&B stuff I like. Right. 2000 R&B, that is. So.
What happens next, Sinead? Because there's an album coming out on Atlantic Records, and they're going to want to start the whole thing rolling again, and, you know, tour buses and off to America and the whole bit. Are you going to do that?
No, and the reason I signed to Atlantic is they're a very radio-driven label. Like, they don't necessarily require you to do things which other companies would require you to do, because their whole way of playing the game is through radio and getting you on the radio. So, and I've tried to make a record which is hopefully going to sell itself, if you like. But also, I have 2 children, so I think the music business is changing much more to accommodate mothers, and it doesn't demand so much of us that we leave our children and that. And you can't take your children on tour with you because it just messes up their whole life. And at the same time, it's not worth it to leave them, you know.
But will you gig? I mean, do the one-offs or
I'll
weekends?
probably do one-offs like around Ireland. I'd be interested in doing things like that were easy. I kind of wish the audience could travel rather than the artists having to travel. Like you could play every night in Dublin, and but that's obviously going to cost a lot more money than me traveling is. So, but but also the price you pay really for touring, I don't think is worth it. Like it takes you a year or two to get your life back to abnormal. Kind of. It's just not worth it. I get very homesick and things like that. I don't really.
There's one song here I've been looking forward to all night. I don't know how you're going to approach it.
Which is
this amazing song, which is absolutely correct for tonight.
Okay.
I don't know how you're going to. Tell me, well, how do you approach a song like Amazing Grace? I mean, it's been done by so many people in so many different ways. How do you tackle that?
I guess you just say what you mean and mean what you say.
All right. Okay.
So, okie dokie. And also another way you tackle this is you invite your audience to sing along. If they know the words. I was thinking yesterday, well, it'd be very nice to involve you all and cover my ass. Sorry. Okay. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already come. His grace has seen me safe so far. His grace will lead me home. The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and buckler be, as long as life endures. And when we've been dead 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less place to sing God's grace than when we first begun. Thanks. Okay, this is our final song of the night. And it's very depressing. So get out your tissues. Actually, it's terrible. I'm not trying to take the piss out of what is actually a very beautiful song. So, also, I'd like to dedicate this to a friend of mine who is deceased, and certain people know who I'm talking about. What's this again? I am stretched on your grave and will lie there forever if your hands were in mine. I'd be sure we'd not sever. My apple tree, my brightness, it's time we were together, for I smell of the earth and am worn by the weather. When my family thinks that I'm safe in my bed from night until morning, I am stretched at your head, calling out to the air with tears hot and wild, my grief for the girl that I loved as a child. Thanks be to Jesus, we did what was right, and your maidenhead still is your pillar of light. The priests and the priors approach me in dread, because I still love you, my love, and you're dead. But I still would be your shelter through rain and through storm, and with you in a cold grave I cannot sleep warm. So I'm stretched on your grave and will lie there forever if your hands were in mine. I'd be sure we'd not sever. My apple tree, my brightness, it's time we were together, for I smell of the earth and am worn by the weather.
Well, now, with that, thank you all very, very much for coming, especially Ray Harman and Sinead for that tonight. It was an extraordinary, brilliant evening, and maybe, maybe Sinead will do one more. Thanks for coming. Sinead O'Connor.
Okay. Just trying to think what we can do. I think I'll do She Moves Through the Fair, if that's okay. You can't go wrong with an Irish song. Okay. The words is the next question. I've got a mental block when it comes to anything to do with marriage. I can't. I can't go there. Now. Yeah, actually. My own love said to me, my mother won't mind, and my father won't slight you for your lack of kind. She went away from me, and this she did say, it will not be long, love, till our wedding day. She went away from me, and she moved through the fair, and slowly I watched her move here and move there. She went her way homeward with one star awake, as the swan in the evening moves over the lake. I dreamed last night that my own love came in. She came in so sweetly, her
And tonight's guest on the Mystery Train was Sinead O'Connor, recorded at HQ in the Irish Music Hall of Fame in Dublin. The presenter was John Kelly. Sound supervision was by Paddy McBreen and the producer was Peter Brown.